podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, after an enforced break, where Man United were brilliant and put in like the single most joyous performance of the season by miles, easily the game I would most like to have talked about for half an hour and been just buzzing and happy about when we beat Liverpool 3-2 in the FA Cup. We didn't have a podcast after that, but we have got a podcast after a 2-1 loss to Sheffield United because there's something very wrong with us here.
Yes. We are the plague of podcasts.
So
hopefully Tommy's... I haven't checked in with him for a while. We heard from him recently.
Yeah, we heard from Tom today. He's
he's
fine.
Definitely alive.
Yeah, he's definitely alive. Thanks to everyone.
It's not his dog, WhatsApping us. Tom, got rid of him finally.
Tom, feel free to, insert your own voice in at this point if you want to. But yeah, lots of nice messages. Thanks to everyone for those. But we're back and should be back on the normal regular rotation. And talking of rotation, how much do you think swapping half of the back four was part of why it went so utterly, spectacularly, horrifically wrong against Sheffield United?
I mean, I have a mixed opinion about this one because, of course, some of those new members of the back four made some key mistakes. But those kind of goals we've seen before with the full-time back four.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, United have now conceded 27 goals in the Premier League. You go down to 12th, and that's Leeds, to find a club that have conceded more. And you can go all the way down to Fulham in the bottom three, and they've also conceded 27 goals.
Wow.
And it will give you a kind of signal as to some of the mistakes United have made this season. And of course, there were the 6 against Tottenham, so special circumstances a little bit there. But it's a problem. Unless United play a proper double pivot, we don't defend very well from the front. And if we do that, we're a bit prosaic in midfield. So it's this balancing act. And then individual mistakes, more again. I mean, I don't know whether you have a thought on whether that second goal against Sheffield United or the one from the corner against Istanbul is the worst one we've conceded this season. But
God, that's a great
bad.
question. Yeah, because it's almost like structurally you can't get worse than the one against Istanbul because there was no one in our half or like anywhere near defending for a corner. But in terms of individual player errors, David De Gea's clearance in the biggest inverted commas you've ever seen, and Alex Telles just completely and utterly ignoring Burke, who was in the box. He was in the box so long. I was watching it, chatting to a friend, and I was watching it on mute. I thought the whistle had gone because the amount of... Because he had 2 goes at standing completely unmarked in the box. You've never seen anything like it in your life. This is genuinely a pub team. A pub team that took the game half seriously would be saying, you can't give him that much space, lads.
I know. Look, they played like a couple of fat lads who... This is the back four, who had 12 pints of Fucklebrow the night before and were just like seriously hungover. I mean, it was just dreadful. I mean, Telles is criminal. And who else let him run past? I'm trying to remember who else played a big part in that. Well, Harry Maguire was stood still as well. David De Gea's pass out. I couldn't work it out because there's no one near him. I mean, he could have just put his foot through the ball and send it out to the stands. It wouldn't be that hard.
It's absolutely awful. So Maguire, I don't think does much wrong, really, to be honest. Like, he kind of gets out of the way. He maybe slightly confuses De Gea by standing a bit too near him or whatever. Yeah, but there was no danger whatsoever. De Gea I mean, it's the most feeble pass out I've ever seen. By the way, De Gea was rubbish on the first goal as well. Like, everyone's saying he was kind of pushed a little bit, and he was pushed a little bit, but obviously, De Gea is rubbish on those kind of things. We know that. He always has been, basically, ever since Andy Carroll whomped him. We've always known this about De Gea, but this was a particularly egregious example. But that attempted clearance was a total joke. And that, so the defender that's standing off Burke, the central defender, is Tuanzebe. But I want to give him a little bit of leniency because he hasn't played nearly as much and he's young and shouldn't necessarily have to be the senior man in that situation. But I honestly thought both times he thought Tellez was going to pick him up because, I mean, maybe it's foreshortening from the camera angles or whatever, but Tellez really looked like that's the man whose man is this? Tellez's man,
Well, at least charge down the shot. At least. No, don't just stand there gawping. I mean...
Well, that's what Tuanzebe did. Tuanzebe kind of stood there and it came off his knee and went in, right? That's...
on the first one, De Gea, I mean, it's incredibly weak. I'm the first to rush to his defence because he's got a lot of credit in the bank still. And he's been okay this season. He's not been making these horrendous errors. But it was incredibly weak. Because even if he's pushed... If he's fully committed to that and he's going to clean everyone out, he still gets the ball. I mean, it's Shelton against 5'4" Maradona in the 1986 World Cup, isn't it? You've got two arms. They're quite long. Yeah, even if you don't jump, you should be able to out-jump someone attacking the ball. And if you do, you clean it out. I mean, it's just really pathetically weak. And it was a foul, of course. Yeah, of course. Of course, it was a foul these days. And if Harry Maguire's the first attempt was a foul, then of course that was. And it's obvious. And there's plenty of people bitching and moaning about that. So I guess we don't have to, pull that up. But it's the vagaries of whether you review or don't review. And it's the referee's first error not being big enough that's the problem there. And the rules around VAR. Yeah.
Schrodinger's VAR, isn't it? It's Schrodinger's foul because, the referee has not blown for a foul in the first one and it isn't a clear enough, obvious enough error to overturn it, and he has blown for a foul in the second one. I mean, the fact that he blew so quickly for a foul in the second one in the era of VAR is a bit like, oh, what are you doing, pal? Let the ball go in and then see what you think, But
I mean, exactly. There was a moment in the second half, I think, when a Sheffield United player raced through, and was that Burke again? Might have been, or Bernie, and ended up blazing over. I can't remember who it was. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think it was Burke. I think it was.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, he was like 5 yards offside. Everyone could see it, and they still let it play through. Weird, right? Yeah. Weird. And that kind of inconsistency is deeply frustrating. But this is not why United lost.
No.
United lost because if we'd had a modicum of intensity, this Sheffield United side would have crumbled, and we've seen it. So
what's absolutely mad is we've kind of absolutely gone to town on the defending for the goals, but particularly the second goal, because the second goal is all-timer terrible team defending, and it's without even getting into Martial losing the ball cheaply for the turnover that led to the goal. A lot of things happened before that, but the defence wasn't even the biggest problem. The biggest problem was that the attack looked completely blunted. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the phrase cross and inshallah, Ed. So for those of you who are not familiar with this phrase, this is a phrase used often on social media in general, but particularly on the excellent Touchline Fracas podcast. And cross and inshallah means Manchester City's general strategy when things aren't going well is to knock it in the box and hope for the best. Man United's tactic at this point is 1-2 and inshallah. This is they if their 1-2 around the edge of the box doesn't come off, they run out of ideas when they're up against deep line defenders. And the individual performance levels, I mean, this is where I feel awful because here I'm about to attack all my favourite players really ruthlessly. But the fact that Martial didn't come off for Cavani at halftime in that game was a joke. The fact that Greenwood came off instead of Martial was an absolute joke. Greenwood looked bright and lively.
Way, completely predictable, that change.
Yeah, of course. And exactly, predetermined at the hour mark, if score equals, then Greenwood comes off for Cavani. In spite of the fact that Martial was completely awful in this game. I mean, I've seen the number of horrifically angry takes about Martial is shocking to me, remains shocking to me. The idea that people are seeing his form at the moment being like, oh yeah, this is the game that proves he needs binning off. I'm like, the player that scored 17 league goals in his first season as a number 9 for 4 years last season. The player that we've seen play kind of fantastically for extended spells of time, who's clearly having a really rough time at the moment, and just want to go, oh yeah, he's rubbish. All right, wind your neck in. But, Rashford's been in dismal form almost all season, but he's got goals and assists, right? If Martial was putting up the numbers that Rashford were, the performance levels have been broadly similar for the most part, with a couple of exceptions. But anyway, having said all of that, he was complete garbage last night, and it was sad to see.
It's an interesting question. Just how many United players have actually been in real form this season? Because I think there's a good argument to say there's quite a few who have actually underperformed last season, and a few real standouts that have got United over the line. And that and the special circumstances of this season, the much lower points total for the leading contenders compared to last season, means we're in touch at the top, right? And this is not to kind of crap on where United are because of one result or anything like that. I think that explains why a squad that still has holes in it could get to top of the league by the halfway stage, and we're talking about potential titles. One of the holes in this squad, apart from individuals, is the propensity to play like that in some games. I mean, we were chatting just before we came on about Istanbul, we were chatting earlier in this podcast about Istanbul. I've already forgotten. And it felt very similar to that, didn't it? Apart from the horrendous individual mistakes, the complete lack of intensity. I don't know how else to put it. I don't want to get into questions of passion and wanting it and
because they've shown a lot
stuff
of that.
like that, but they have shown a lot of that at times this season. So. And I don't think that's Martial's problem, although it's the one that people go to fairly easily on for some particular reasons, which we'll get into, go to on social media. But the fact that they can drop off so much, I mean, it looked like they were knackered. It looked like it was the 60th game of the season after 257 in the Europa League, and they were all broken. But we're in the end of January, and we've got basically another half a season to go, so I really hope that's not the case.
Yeah, it's interesting that the question of performance, because I think one of the things that definitely happened was that Sheffield United defended very ferociously, and the fact that we gifted them, even the commentator, who's Darren Fletcher on BT Sport, who is maybe the single worst commentator, is somehow the lead commentator on the secondary sports broadcaster in the country. But anyway, that's a second, and to be clear to listeners abroad, that is not glorious hero Darren Fletcher, it's the baddie Darren Fletcher. He said that they've got something to defend now, and they were already defending ferociously, and they defended for their lives, and they defended in huge numbers with 5 people in the back line and 3 holding midfielders as well. So it was really literally 5, 3, and then whatever left over in front of it, behind the ball almost the whole game. And it's not easy to break down a team that defends like that. It really isn't. It caused United some clear discomfort, and they were trying stuff. They were, trying passes into the box. They were trying the 1-2s around the edge of the area, all of those kinds of things. It's probably quite telling that the best chances came from set pieces. The goal came from a set piece. Shout out to Harry Maguire for finally heading the ball at the goal rather than above it or to the side of it, as is his general preference in these matters. So it was nice to see that. And when it got back to 1-1, I thought, right, great, we're going to win this game, because actually the attitude's been fantastic among the club, and the passion, if you like, the collective application, the will to win, the belief, all of those things have been great. That Liverpool game at the weekend, I wonder how much of this, and we'll see the Arsenal game will be quite telling of this. I wonder how much of this game was about not quite complacency, but almost a kind of after the Lord Mayor's show, a kind of just a slight lack of intensity because Sunday required so much intensity, and the high of Sunday was pretty great as well. I wonder whether that was a factor.
Look, it may well have been. It's not enough, though, is it? It's not enough of an explanation for just how bad that was. And I know Sheffield United defended deep and well, and they had these blocks of 4, but it's not like they're the first club to ever play some anti-football. And the way you break down a team like that is the way that they've been broken down 33 times this season. It's by shifting play, it's by speeding up in key areas, it's by doing the things that players of a lower quality, honestly, sorry guys, usually fail at. And United didn't do that, didn't even change the tactics up at all. I mean, what almost the most shocking thing was we got into the last 10 minutes and there wasn't like some big rally. There wasn't like a whole bunch of chances. We didn't even, not that I'd advocate this normally, stick Harry Maguire up front and launch it. I mean, anything. They were still playing 10-yard balls at walking pace like they were playing in, the World Cup in Qatar, which will be like this, right? 0 intensity. And it was mind-boggling how bad. And yes, maybe the mental intensity of that Liverpool game has taken something out of them. There were 5 changes though, and that's why you use your squad in order to freshen things up. And just nothing.
When the starting lineup came out, I thought, great, that's exactly the kind of side we need. I was a little bit surprised to see Cavani not playing because he is so good. I mean, I was also not surprised to see him come on at half-time because if anyone was going to pull those defenders apart and pull them out of position, Cavani, is sort of born to do that. But the starting lineup was really attacking, and he played basically his most attacking team pretty much. Tellez on the left trying to give Shaw a rest, I guess, and the Matic-Pogba-Fernandes combination is the most attacking midfield combination, the most creative midfield combination that doesn't include Van der Beek in some way. And in fact, the front three, although they have struggled actually collectively this season, we saw at the back end of last season how effective they can be as a front three. The thing that was shocking from Solskjaer was the lack of a speedy reaction and the decisions. The fact that he didn't go back to the drawing board and do a different sub from the Greenwood for Cavani sub. Because like I said, Greenwood actually looked quite lively, quite threatening. He'd scored that goal against Liverpool. I'd have given him the full 90 here. And
had a very good chance, didn't he, as well? Greenwood.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a 28% chance or whatever it was, but one that he likes to bury.
Yeah. And then I talk about this all the time, but there's a quote from Solskjaer. I think maybe it was from his official United podcast interview, but I can't remember where it was from. I can't find it again, but he definitely said it, where he said, I always felt as a player that you need 20 minutes to influence a game as a substitute. And he just, well, then why are you bringing on Van der Beek 10 minutes before the end of the game? Who, by the way, did influence things. We did look a bit tidier with Van der Beek.
5 minutes before the end of the game.
Right.
I mean, he's played, his second 2 subs were at 85 and 86 minutes. I mean, he does this quite a lot. His reluctance to use substitutes. Now, he's got a much bigger pool of players now. Right? He's got a bigger pool of players. He's got a higher quality pool of players than he had 2 years ago when he came into the job, and there's still that reluctance. And, it is a failing. As much as he's growing into the job and the team is growing with him, and he seems... He doesn't make big decisions. And this was a game where it was so flat. I mean, half-time was, you're right, the time. I'm not normally one to be screaming and shouting on Twitter going, got to make that change, but it was just so desperate for that first half that it had to be something. If it's not a change of system or personnel or whatever, or the half-time team talk or whatever it's going to be to do it, then what is it?
Yeah,
because they came out and they were exactly the same.
And I guess in Solskjaer's defence a little bit, he's got plenty of evidence that this team can sort themselves out after a bad first half. They've done it all season long, and this was actually kind of almost that pattern of play of going behind and first catching up with us. And this is one of the first times there hasn't been a significant reaction that's changed the game, certainly since it went all kinds of terrible against Tottenham. But the inability to change the game, I've talked constantly this season about the kind of this season is a battle between our good players and our bad players, and in this game our bad players did exactly what they're meant to do, which is disastrous defending for the most part. Not even our bad players, but our players with massive mistakes in them, and then our good players didn't do what they're meant to do. Basically, none of them. Pogba wasn't great. Bruno certainly wasn't great. Rashford wasn't great. Martial was absolutely terrible. Greenwood was all right. Matic, I guess, was pretty harmless and actually did a couple of decent bits of defending one-on-one. Not really got particular criticisms of him in this game, but I just keep flashing back to that De Gea pass out, and it is difficult to overcome at moments like that, but that did feel symptomatic of like the whole of United just kind of coming down with the collective case of like, oh, no, maybe actually we're rubbish. We can't really... And I think I said 2 weeks ago, one of the reasons I find it very difficult to believe that this side could possibly win the league is I can't imagine them showing up in really clutch moments consistently all season. And this was not the clutch moment of the massive high-pressure game. This was the clutch moment that you absolutely need if you're going to win the league, which is win the games you're supposed to win,
Oh, so. Sure, yeah. I mean, and the contrast with Sunday was just
oh
so
my God.
stark, so stark. When United, I mean, I think that might have been. I mean, like we've had big games, right? Wins against City and Paris Saint-Germain and all those moments, but predominantly there where United played in a low block and used the pace on the counter. And here against Liverpool, they won from the front.
Yeah,
they'd seen the last 15 minutes against Liverpool in the league game. And they'd realised that this is a Liverpool team that can be taken on, and that belief kind of was injected into the team. Now, it kind of took Bruno shooting from every angle to really spark United into life a little bit. But there it was.
Yeah.
United could go toe-to-toe with the best team in the land.
Well,
or at least they used to be.
Yeah.
And come out on top. And so, I mean, Solskjaer used the word statement. A few other people have, including, I think, me on Twitter. It was the word that seemed appropriate at the time. And it was a statement, a landmark win for this United team in its development. And then to follow that up by pissing it away against the worst team in the division in the most awful, insipid, pathetic fashion. God, we're going to turn into Arsenal fan TV with this kind of rant, aren't we? But it was just shocking. I keep using that word because it's how I felt. I couldn't believe United did that, and I couldn't believe that there was just no reaction in the last few minutes. Just nothing.
And the reason why I don't think we'll ever turn into Arsenal fan TV is there'll always be some nuance in this because these players are all living in the weirdest circumstances of all time. This is the weirdest season of all time. And for them to hit these kind of walls or have these games where they suddenly lose confidence and all those kinds of things, I guess this is just a thing that can happen. And, we've seen, you mentioned Liverpool, the best team in the land. Well, they've been shocking all of a sudden out of nowhere. I mean, it's not out of nowhere. They've had key injuries that have caused reshuffles, leaving holes in their side and their strategy. But nonetheless, some of the individual performances have been really poor from their absolute key players. Salah scored 2 goals against us. Those were his first 2 goals in 4 games. Mane, I think he scored tonight, but if I'm not wrong, I just saw something on Twitter. I could be completely wrong about that. But anyway, he's really been struggling for goal scoring form, and he's Sadio Mane, the division's kind of most proven, exciting forward player for the last 3 years or whatever. So, stuff can happen.
He didn't, but
no,
yeah.
right, he didn't score tonight.
Twitter lies all the time.
Yeah, I realised as I was saying it that I've conflated two things: the fact that they're winning and the fact that I saw his name mentioned, but it was in a completely different context. But anyway, so they are not a collective disgrace, this Man United side. They are trying their very best to be good, and they've done much more than anyone expected so far this season, and they really were absolutely rubbish at the weekend. But, it was insipid, and it was a really kind of like a really shocking performance, but they're humans and they're clearly, they don't deserve to be widely mocked and hated for having a bad game. I mean, the other thing, I don't know what the hell is the point of me and you talking about this, but I don't know how not to talk about it. Tuanzebe and Martial, particularly Axel Tuanzebe, exposed to just horrific racial abuse on social media after that game, directly, cruelly, viciously. There was a widespread reaction, and United, the club, players of all ethnicities at United, and players all around the game reacting to this and expressing solidarity for Axel Tuanzebe. I didn't know. I wanted to say something, I didn't know what to say, and all I could think to do was to express some heart solidarity with the person going through something like that, because these, it's just evil. And Henry Winter said, like, oh, education's the key. And it's like, well, we've had, education's the key, but a very different sort of education from the one that has been around about these things. And anyway, we've had plenty of education that hasn't done anything. So,
Yeah, I'm not going to take it from Henry Winter, the Oracle who works for the Telegraph. Sorry.
Exactly, yeah. Doesn't he work for the Times now? Isn't it even worse? He works for Rupert Murdoch. He moved from the Telegraph to the Times.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Look, it's disgusting. It by the way, we're talking about it because it's made the headlines, but Jesse Lingard and other black players at United who have perceivably failed. The perception is they failed. I think I made a word up there. Yeah. Well, I'm allowed to. I'm the host of this podcast, God damn it. I'll say whatever I like. They get abused every week. And it's really disgusting. And unfortunately, social media is very, very good at amplifying those voices, finding them, amplifying them, and bringing them to the surface. And I wish society wasn't like this, and solidarity is what we can show at this time. I would like some of these social media platforms to be very, very good at ripping that out of their toxic pit of scum and villainy. Which they've done with some very with some very high profile people.
They're good at two things. They're good at getting rid of copyrighted material, and any time that people work collectively to try and rail in any way against the system. So, like,
look, if you call a celebrity a C word, you'll get banned very quickly. Yeah. If you post a Premier League goal, that will be stripped out within milliseconds. But I can go around and use one can use the N word liberally, and it's perfectly all right because that's free speech. Yeah,
it's absolutely disgusting, and that we know whose interest these people serve. Like these platforms, they have no interest in. Trump was allowed to do whatever he was until it was not. You couldn't continue it anymore, and then they decided to push the button on him that day because anyway, Katie Hopkins was spewing her vile bile for years and years and years and years and years before they did anything about it. We know they don't care. They absolutely cannot care. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know even. I hate talking about it, but I hate that it exists much more than I hate that. I hate what it does to people and what people are having done to them much more than I hate having to talk about it. You know, it's a tiny thing to do to just and you know, there are people that have stopped listening to this show because we talk about this stuff too much, and the reason we talk about it too much is because it happens too much, not because we decided to talk about it more. You know, so yeah.
Yes, well, yeah. And yes, people make that point to us through various channels, privately and or publicly, and it's a shame because I would love it to be rainbows and flowers and frolicking through fields of wheat or whatever it is supposed to be, and we could just talk about the football and the football being good, but unfortunately the world is and so was the football.
Yeah, it was. I mean, a little word about the Liverpool performance. What a joy that was. The moment that Bruno scored that goal was like right up there, isn't it? It's, you know, and we should talk about like Marcus Rashford finding Mason Greenwood and Mason Greenwood finding himself again. Like that, a beautiful, absolutely classic Greenwood Van Persie bang, like superb. That goal, I was saying in the WhatsApp, I've got to remember that for goal of the season, because from the Pogba tackle to the ball, I think it's McTominay, it might be Shaw who knocks it out wide to Rashford. Rashford gets his head up beautifully, and that crossfield pass, who knew that Marcus Rashford had a pinger like that in him? I guess we could have
absolutely drilled it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hollywood ball, just absolutely millimeters perfect over the defender.
Yeah.
And right into Mason's path. Yes, just a lovely goal all round, and then capped by Bruno doing a Van Persie and banging in a late winner from a free kick.
Yeah,
magic, very good. Enjoyed it thoroughly, and that's why yesterday was so thoroughly depressing.
Yeah,
to come from that high, that sort of moment of beating Liverpool in a cup when they had to go for it, because of course it was a different pattern from the league game when United were quite circumspect, betting on, as we talked about, betting on Liverpool fading.
Yeah.
And Solskjaer talked about it, to a cup game when you couldn't really do that quite as much because someone had to win.
Yeah.
And just went toe-to-toe. And this was Frank Bruno, punching out Mike Tyson, which never happened, but United did do it.
It was good on the BBC coverage because he said Gary Lineker made a reference to Frank Bruno as like Bruno with the knockout blow or something, and he said, "Do you know what I mean?" And then off camera, Ian Wright went, "Gary," which was really good and clearly unscripted and very enjoyable.
Nice,
but all the more. Oh yeah, by the way, like that game, there was some post-match analysis from perfectly reputable people, and it happened. The co-com was probably not so reputable, talking about whether the foul on Cavani, where I can't remember who it was, the Liverpool defender's knee goes straight through the back of Cavani's knee. No, he's made a meal of that. And like, I saw loads of people buying that story, and it's just like, oh man, the media really will lie to you, won't it? Like, it really will do a number on people, because yeah, that was the foulest foul I've ever seen in Foul Town.
I know. I mean, I'm not quite sure what channel I was looking at. I had Darren Fletcher's commentary. I wasn't watching it on BT. But so yes, and there was quite a lot of chat on that, wasn't there, about whether it was a foul. What?
So weird. So weird. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, look, Keys and Gray on Bein Sport spend all their time, the hairy palmed that they are, talking about how many penalties United get. It's been a concerted effort, by the way.
Yeah.
Some people in the media, Jurgen Klopp and a few others.
Mourinho,
to stop United getting so many penalties. And we've had a few now, you know, Maguire's chalked off, who had the studs raked down their leg against Liverpool in the draw.
I can't remember who that was, but yeah. And you know, the Martial goal yesterday when Maguire was alleged to have fouled him, which was a very, very 50-50 decision. United, I mean, honestly.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, honestly, it's definitely working. Like, it's legitimately changed the nature of the way United's games are being refereed, which is like, you know, it's upsetting that can happen, but hey, not like we were short of good decisions for the period before people started talking about it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one day we'll get to a VAR system which is there to support the referees and that it's a completely level playing field, and we don't have this kind of weird, sorry for the cricket reference, DRS-like system where it makes a difference whether it was pitching outside or not pitching outside, or reviewed or not reviewed, or it's clipping the wickets by a quarter of a ball or a half a ball.
Yeah.
And which is what we got with VAR now, because the first decision shouldn't affect the second decision if you're going to re-review it.
Absolutely. So, very, very dispiriting. Maybe Man United aren't going to win the league after all, but a massive game to come. So let's have a break and then talk about Arsenal, I guess.
All right.
If you want more from the show in between shows, check us out on the socials. We are NQAT Pod on Instagram, Ed's at NQAT Pod on Twitter, and we are under our real names on Facebook at No Question About That. Oh, just before we get to the Arsenal game, given that global capitalism is once again in the headlines, thanks to the efforts of some people on Reddit and the efforts of the collective Wall Street machine to shut down any hint of humans being able to benefit in some way from the system, as opposed to just an elite handful of hedge fund managers. The Deloitte Money League, are we top of that league? Are we second behind City in that league?
No, a fourth behind FC Barcelona,
I don't.
Exactly.
Okay, I do not think
good.
the Deloitte Money League is credible anymore. Having said
No.
that.
I'm going to have to defend them there, right? So the ranking is done on revenue, right? And we can get to why it is United's revenue has fallen more than anyone else's, right? It's and it's quite good as a report in calling out the subtleties, but the ranking is done on revenue, right? So this is Barcelona. Quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, peeps, the richest club in the world, also 1.2 billion euros in debt, and absolutely facing a complete meltdown financially. Real Madrid second. They have slightly less debt. It's only a few hundred million. And Bayern Munich have replaced United in third place. And one of the other impacts here, and the reason why United are slipping down this league, is because United's revenue has been hit 19% by the COVID pandemic, because we get a huge amount from match day. Not only bums in seats, but everything goes around it. People in the mega store and people purchasing other stuff. And there's some weird stuff around dates as well. So Bayern Munich actually basically finished their season, whereas some of last season will be included in next year's table because the Premier League started again later and stuff like that. But anyway, United 115 million down as of the publication of this, and it's going to be a lot more by the time there's people actually back in Old Trafford again.
Yeah. But still, Champions League place in money, which is going to matter a tremendous amount because the Deloitte money table is essentially going to be the European Super League within 10 years' time.
Well, if Real Madrid and Barcelona get their way, it'll be within 2 years' time.
Right.
I mean, there's such a push from Agnelli at Juventus and Senor Perez at Barcelona and Real Madrid, and 400 people running to be the next Barcelona president. And of course Ed Woodward and the Glazers are right in there because they're trying to create something that looks much more like the closed shop of the NFL that they understand, and where you don't have relegation. And almost certainly the latest proposal, it seems like it would be a midweek league of something like 18 or 20 games or something like that. And 15 of the places would go to like historically successful clubs. And like 5 of them would go to
United.
Yeah.
We are historically successful.
Yes. Quite a long time back in history at this point, sadly.
Although not as far back in history as Arsenal, who, well, I guess they won the FA Cup last season, but that does not count, as we know. Arsenal, famously rubbish, Arsenal, lost to Southampton in the FA Cup, but then beat them on Tuesday night in the league. 3-1's a pretty big result for them. But, so they drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace, beat Newcastle 3-0, literally doesn't count. lost to Southampton Cup, then beat them in the league. So, the Arteta revolution. They've had some good press lately, but they've won 2 of their last 1, 2, 3, 4 games, 3 of their last 5. But if you go back a little bit further than that, it starts to get pretty messy for them. And they had a little good little run over Christmas when they beat Brighton and West Brom. Very good. They were very good against West Brom. They're a different proposition in lots of different ways. They've signed, of course, is it Martin Ødegaard? Ødegaard.
Yep.
He's going to be, I guess, available for this game. I don't see why not.
I think it seems like it. It seems like he's going to be registered.
One of the interesting things is does he not play as a number 10? Is he not kind of
Yes, he's a creative midfielder. He was recalled by Real Madrid, but didn't get it was supposed to be a 2-year loan at Real Zaragoza, I think.
Sociedad?
Sociedad.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but yeah.
Yeah. And they recalled him, but he's barely played. So, he's a creative player. It's kind of interesting, though, because he's a young player, and they've just brought in Emil Smith-Rowe to play in that position.
And he's been great.
And he's been good. And so instead of he's replacing the experienced player in Ozil, who's gone to Fenerbahce. And it's kind of a bit weird that now going to have 2 young players vying for that spot rather than bring in a sort of more experienced player. They're all over the place, Arsenal, when it comes to transfers. They make some really odd decisions, which is kind of helps to explain where they are in the league, I suppose.
And it's interesting, I mean, this is a weird thing to say, but a move like this gets the full social media treatment, right? But it's a 6-month loan. It's nothing. They've got a good player off for Real Madrid for 6 months. There's no option to buy. It's just a loan deal. So they really are kind of scraping, I guess. It does feel weird. I guess Emil Smith-Rowe kind of needs some, not even competition, but support, and can't just be expected to play every week. But you'd imagine Real Madrid will be expecting Ødegaard to play lots.
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, the interesting thing with Arsenal signings is when they sign, they're the greatest player in the history of the game ever, according to Arsenal Twitter. And by about this time, they're completely useless. and so maybe Ødegaard can just fast forward straight to the completely useless phase of his Arsenal career.
Maybe, but they like to have one good game against us first. I wonder what on earth Solskjaer is going to do. I mean, if Bailly's still injured, by the way, we would have won that game if Eric Bailly was playing. That's the most Darren Fletcher 2009 Champions League final thing I've ever said. But this is true. We would have won that game because those goals would not have happened if Eric Bailly was playing. But so if Bailly's still injured, Lindelof, I guess, must have not been available for that game.
He was on the bench.
Oh, okay. So
last night.
Right. So maybe he was just rested. I wonder if we won't see Maguire and Lindelof for that kind of deep lying defence move. Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, midfield of McFred. I guess McFred is going to play. And then I wonder if he'll go Pogba, Fernandes, Greenwood, Rashford, or Cavani even.
Maybe, yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure he'll go to his sort of fave pick. The reaction, I don't think will be completely radical from Solskjaer. It will be some players failed here. I'm going to go to what I know. So yes, McFred will definitely play 100%. I'm sure if Victor Lindelof is fit enough, he's had this back problem, he'll play with Maguire, and Shaw will definitely come back in. So, the back 5 we know, the 2 in front we know, and then it's a question of what the blend is. I suspect Pogba and Fernandes will both. I mean, Fernandes definitely playing. I would think Pogba will play, which only leaves 2 spaces left, doesn't it? So count them up.
Yeah, Cavani and Rashford, I guess, be the other 2.
Could be Cavani and Rashford in a sort of split. It doesn't necessarily suit Cavani awesomely well because or Pogba. I mean, unless Pogba plays off the left, where he's actually kind of enjoyed it this season. Rashford down the right, and that definitely Pogba wasn't at his best yesterday. He wasn't at his worst either, but it helps him when he's not passive, right? And he's not passive when he's in attacking positions, and it doesn't matter what part of the pitch that is. So playing him off the left and Rashford off the right it feels balanced enough, even if neither of them particularly want to play in those roles.
And I'd rather have Pogba off the left because Shaw does offer so much more. I can't believe we're saying this so quickly after, how reactive can you be? But like Shaw is currently offering so much more than Wan-Bissaka in attacking capacity that and Rashford will pull out to the left even if he's playing on the right, I guess and Bruno will pull out there. So there's that space will be occupied, I guess. I'd quite like to see that. I think it would be kind of crazy for him to drop Pogba. But that's the only way of playing more of the front players. He's got to play Cavani. There's no way Cavani doesn't start this game, right? Like, how do you look at what's gone on recently and not start Cavani in this game? I just don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, look, with Martial's performances being so bad, there's a temptation to elevate Cavani's performances. Right, and he's done some very good things, but he's not been transformational. And we didn't expect him to be that player either. But
do you think? You don't think he's been transformational? Do you think he makes?
Cavani?
Yeah, he makes a huge difference to our. I think he's made a huge difference to our overall attacking play because his movement is so good, and like he offers something that none of the rest of them offer at all, which is like genuine centre forward movement. To me, that's one of the kind of specific tactical things that's like completely elevated our season. And I think they there's a kind of, they look up to him as well. I don't know. I mean, the numbers might not say it, but I'd be. It's interesting that you said he's not been transformational because I kind of definitely think of him as a player that's a big part of the reason why we're having a very different overall conversation about the season so far than any of us expected.
Yeah, he's averaging 47 minutes a match and he's got 4 goals. So, I mean, I guess that's what I'm thinking about, and that's on expected goals. Like the movement, I'll buy that between the lines of the box. He's got good movement. He doesn't play the channels quite the same way in peak Martial and Rashford do, but neither of them are particularly peak at the moment. I don't think Cavani is the reason why United have leapt forward this season. So I think the things coming together as an attacking unit is part of it, and it being a weird season in which many of our main rivals are also deeply inconsistent.
Yeah.
Anyway,
interesting. Okay, so you're not like 100% convinced he's nailed on to play this game?
No, I think he will, because Martial was so bad.
Yeah.
How could he? Unless it's the kind of reverse thing with Ole and he wants to support Martial.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's. I was making a bigger comment.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But yes, it would make sense for Martial to play, and Cavani to play, and it's the blend of how they play, whether they play in a diamond or Pogba wide left.
Yeah. Right. Well, this is a mega must-win game. After that Sheffield United game, this is.
I mean, if United lose this one and go into games against Everton, Southampton and West Ham, and there could be defeats in those. I mean, could win them all.
Well, the West Ham game's a cup game, so...
Cup game, but still. That West Ham game comes 48 hours after the Everton game.
Yeah.
I expect Solskjaer to be talking a lot about that coming up, and so there's going to be a lot of... presumably they prioritise the league game there, and big number of changes for the cup game, but still.
We, at some point, I know this is like a conversation that's been bubbling around and was being had very early on, but the Van der Beek conversation is getting really, really ridiculous now. So he rotated pretty heavily in that game yesterday in terms of the defence, and like you say, he made 5 changes from the Liverpool game, but Van der Beek didn't play either of them, and you just wonder what is going on, right? Because did Van der Beek start against Liverpool?
Yes, he did. Yeah, in the cup game.
Oh, of course he did. And
he had like an hour, and
had
an hour and wasn't awesome.
Never mind. Forget that.
Piece in the Athletic basically saying that Solskjaer's had a conversation with him, and that this conversation was had when he was signed, which is you might have to bide your time this season. And he's had another conversation saying, "Look, you're in the plans." I'm parroting the Athletic here. and don't panic, and this shouldn't surprise anyone because a lot of the players have come out of Ajax and gone to big European clubs have struggled a bit, right? Frankie de Jong wasn't, and he's outstanding player. Yeah, wasn't great at Barcelona last season, not great at Barcelona this season either. So that's a bigger conversation. Not time to hit the panic button. If Pogba said today that they have plans to talk at the end of the season about what comes next, I think everyone assumes Pogba leaves. But if he doesn't find a market because everyone is broke, and this is definitely a potential. Like Van der Beek is facing another season on the sidelines, presumably. I
have to say, if I was a gambling man, which I am absolutely not, I would bet on Pogba being at United next season. If you gave me even money either way, I think he's going to be at United next season. That's reading of the tea leaves. I mean, it could be totally idiocy, but
it looks like they've got a market at two clubs because the Spanish clubs can't afford him. Zidane will be gone. There's no chance Zidane's lasting beyond this season. And he's the one who wants him. And they all have to cut huge amounts from their budget, the Spanish clubs. So it's Paris Saint-Germain or Juve, basically. And I'm not sure Juve are going to stump up a big fee. So it would be another year.
Yeah. All right. What's the score going to be against Arsenal? 1-0 United?
17-0. Yeah, God, I don't know. I mean, I just hope we can defend properly.
Yeah, we definitely can't defend properly. So I'm going to go 2-1 United.
Yeah. I'm going to say 2-2.
Okay, cool.
But I have no reason to say that. Yeah, I don't know why. Whatever. We just pick a number, don't we?
Exactly. We'll be back after that game to cover that, and we'll do a full roundup of Premier League fixtures for Patreon backers. Thank you very much to everybody who has supported the show. Thanks to everyone who sent a nice message to producer Tom. That obviously doesn't include Ed, who used the word plague a lot. So massive thanks for listening, and here's hoping for better days ahead.
Hey, look, I also asked listeners to check out, to check Tom was doing okay and he wasn't like dying in his flat and that we hadn't heard from him for weeks and he was just a rotting corpse. So, I care.
Clearly, that's the message of today's show. All right, thanks everybody. Massive love to everyone out there. I know people are in the UK. It's a really tough time at the moment. I feel like this particular lockdown is hitting people the hardest of all the lockdowns so far. Hang in there and look after yourselves. A better days ahead.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.